Okay, so in this video, we'll be talking about the tension brewing between Gia Giudice and Riley Burruss ahead of their new show.
Right. This all seems to have kicked off from Gia's podcast, Casual Chaos. She was chatting with Dolores Catania.
Yeah, exactly. And they were discussing, Real Housewives of New Jersey and Real Housewives of Atlanta, comparing them, sort of.
And that comparison seems to be the heart of it.
Yeah.
The sources say Riley was really offended.
Felt the shows were just very different.
Which is interesting because Gia's reaction was like complete surprise.
Totally. She said she was very surprised, didn't think it was that depth at all.
Felt she was just, trying to connect maybe.
Right. Specifically that shared experience of, their moms being on Bravo, a common link.
But she did make a point to clarify, which seems important here.
Oh, yeah.
She was clear she wasn't trying to compare Teresa Giudice and Kandi Burruss, their mothers.
Okay, so not a mom comparison. What was the point then?
Her point, or how she explained it, was more about the franchises, like the shows themselves.
Oh, okay.
Saying they each have their own niche, sure, but they share that same common denominator.
Which is?
Basically, friend groups with drama. That was her angle. She insisted she wasn't trying to say anything offensive at all.
Just trying to find that connection point.
Exactly. And she even mentioned, like, seeing something on TikTok.
Oh, right. Yeah, she saw a discussion where someone else agreed with her, that she wasn't actually comparing Kandi and Teresa.
So, like, a little bit of external validation for her perspective.
But then you've got this other layer with Ariana Bierman.
Right, the third co-star. Gia says she has a great relationship with Ariana.
But here's the twist. Ariana's actually gotten really close with Riley.
Yeah, Ariana apparently says she didn't even expect it, but they just hit it off really quickly.
So you have Gia friendly with Ariana, and Ariana now super close with Riley, who's currently offended by Gia. It's complicated.
Very. And Ariana herself kind of predicts trouble because of it.
What does she say?
She thinks her close friendship with Riley will definitely keep some friendships rocky and on the rocks.
Wow, okay. So she sees her bond with Riley potentially causing friction with others, maybe meaning Gia.
It certainly seems implied between a lot of different people in the cast. Next update we have about the Erika Jayne and the whole Tom Girardi situation. We've got an article where Erika reflects on RHOBH during that really intense period.
Yeah, this was from her appearance on the Diamonds in the Rough podcast. She apparently said that back in 2020, when all the legal trouble hit, she seriously thought about quitting the show.
Okay, and her reasons for staying.
Well, two main things. First, pretty straightforward. She didn't want to be seen as a quitter. But the second reason, and this feels significant, was she felt staying was the only way to stop other people from completely controlling the narrative about her.
Right, like using the platform, even though it was brutal, to have some kind of voice.
Exactly. It's that double-edged sword. The article even quotes her saying about that season something like she drank a lot and blacked out a lot. Gives you a sense of the pressure.
Wow. Okay, so shifting from that difficult past to her life now, the sources also mention her dating life. There were those rumors about Jesse Solomon from Summer House.
Yeah, she kind of addressed those, but more broadly talked about dating in general. She said she is dating, having fun, but definitely not looking for marriage or moving in right now.
And she had a specific quote about wanting genuine connection.
She wants to spend time with people who are genuinely interesting and explicitly said, not for television. Added she can't fake it.
Which naturally leads to the question, would she bring someone onto RHOBH?
Yeah, the sources covered that. Sounds like she's really hesitant.
How so?
She called it a difficult ask, said it would need a specific person, someone who, gets the game.
Gets the reality TV game, you mean?
Exactly. Her main concern seemed to be bringing someone not used to the public eye onto the show, how an innocent comment could get totally twisted and used against them, potential for real harm there.
That makes sense. It definitely changes the dynamic of any relationship. Okay, so connected to Erika, obviously, is the big news about Tom Girardi.
Right. A major development here, according to the sources. The judge, U.S. District Judge Josephine Staten, ruled on his sentencing.
And the decision is?
He's headed to prison, not a mental treatment facility, which his team had argued for.
Why prison? What was the judge's reasoning?
Well, the judge determined that the U.S. Bureau of Prisons, the BOP, could actually provide adequate care for him, even with the dementia claims.
Okay. And there was a hearing?
Yeah, a 3-hour hearing, lots of testimony, including from Tom Girardi himself. And this is where it gets kind of striking. Well, even though he's reportedly been in a memory care facility for 2 years, barely leaving.
Right.
His testimony, according to the sources, described like recent trips, attending meetings, visiting Buffalo, Oklahoma, even going to his old law firm that's been shut down.
That doesn't quite add up. How did the judge react to that?
Apparently, she observed him closely and felt he was actually more self-aware than he seemed. The sources even mention a specific detail she cited.
What was that?
Him quickly pulling up his pants when they started to fall. She saw that as a sign of cognizance.
Wow. Okay, that's specific. What did his lawyer say?
His attorney argued against it, of course, said he needs specialized care, called him frail, elderly, vulnerable to being exploited in prison.
But the judge stuck to her decision.
Yep. The conclusion was he'll be sent to an appropriate facility within the BOP system.
And the financial side? Restitution.
Ordered to pay $3.8 million in restitution for what the prosecution called a cunning fraud scheme against his clients. Their statement called it a calculated and devastating betrayal. They're apparently hoping for a 14-year sentence.
Okay, and just quickly, Erika's situation related to all this.
Still ongoing. The sources mentioned she's being sued by the bankruptcy trustee for $24 million, alleging she might have benefited from misappropriated funds. A trial is expected later this year.
So Tom's path is clear, but the fallout continues for others.
Definitely.
Next update we have about the Chrisleys and a recent pardon.
Yeah, this definitely made headlines. Todd and Julie Chrisley from Chrisley Knows Best, they received a presidential pardon from Donald Trump on May 27th.
Right. They were convicted of tax evasion, bank fraud. Julie got 7 years, Todd got 12. Their daughter Savannah had been very vocal, claiming it was political.
Mm-hmm. And a huge part of this, according to their lawyer and TMZ reports in the sources, is the money. They were ordered to pay $17 million in restitution.
And the pardon
apparently cancels that debt.
Okay, that's significant.
And TMZ raised another interesting, kind of complex point. They noted that, generally, a president could potentially order the recipients of restitution to pay it back, meaning the Chrisleys might even try to reclaim money they'd already paid, though, you know, the specifics of their pardon aren't public.
Huh, okay. And their lawyer, Alex Little, put out a statement.
Yeah, quoted in the sources. He basically reiterated their stance, claiming they were targeted because of their conservative values and high profile, and that the prosecution was tainted by multiple constitutional violations and political bias. Again, just reporting what the sources state was claimed.
Understood. And Savannah spoke out too, right? At a press conference. People covered it.
She did. She addressed what she called the biggest misconception.
Which was?
The idea that she paid for a pardon or slept for a pardon. She pushed back hard on that.
How did she explain it then?
Said it was down to countless hours and the money and the time she personally put in. Fighting, begging for meetings, going to D.C. without appointments, just being relentless.
Arguing it wasn't privilege, but persistence.
Pretty much. She's quoted saying, "I had to fight and I was relentless and that's how it happened." Challenging the idea that celebrity or money gave them an upper hand.
And Todd spoke at that same press conference.
Yes. He acknowledged the fame question, saying he gets why people think it played a role. Something like, that's not something that you can look at and say, well, that had nothing to do with it.
He gave Savannah credit, too.
Big time. Praised her efforts. But then he shifted focus, talking about his experience in prison.
What did he say?
He spoke pretty powerfully about observing what he saw as the mistreatment of African-American men in the system he was in.
Okay.
He said, quote, "Anyone that says that it's a fair shake, it's not." He mentioned seeing them denied programming, denied access to things he wasn't denied.
So using that platform to talk about systemic issues he witnessed.
Yeah, urging people to look at the much bigger picture, emphasizing unity, we are one. But what was also striking was him saying that despite the pardon, he still feels convicted.
How so?
He said, "I still was convicted of something that I did not do." It highlights that a pardon removes the penalty, but maybe not the internal feeling or the public record of conviction.
Interesting point. Did he talk about shame?
He did. Said he refuses to feed into it, called shame a cancer. He also described learning about the pardon, feeling numb, calling Savannah.
Right.
And his first thought, he said, was for the guys he was leaving behind. He told the story about the 317 men at the camp lining up, shouting, "Don't leave, don't forget us." And he committed to remembering them.
Wow, that's quite a powerful image. Next update we have about a health diagnosis for a RHOA alum.
Yeah, this one's about Dwight Eubanks.
Yeah.
You know, iconic figure, unofficial cast member on Atlanta, popped up on Married to Medicine, Botched, connections to Nene, Phaedra.
Right, I remember Dwight. What's the news?
It's difficult news. He's shared publicly that he's been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Oh, wow, okay.
He talked about how he didn't think he was high risk. His grandfather had it, but it was on his mother's side. So he's quoted saying, "So I'm thinking that I'm good."
How did he find out?
Unexpectedly. Felt fine, but got some blood work done at a church health fair in January. A week later, got the call.
What was his reaction?
Intense. He described being shocked, angry, emotionally a wreck, just freaked out. Understandable, hearing that word cancer.
Absolutely. Was there anything unusual about the diagnosis timing?
Well, this is concerning. The articles mention that when doctors looked back at his records, they found high PSA levels, warning signs from way back in 2022.
That weren't flagged.
Apparently not. Might have been overlooked or maybe misattributed to his HIV status, even though he's undetectable. He was quoted saying, "Are you kidding me? This was back in 2022 and nobody said anything to me."
That's really rough.
And now he's turning this into action. He's partnering with Zero Prostate Cancer to raise awareness.
Tough for him, especially given the statistics.
Exactly. He's highlighting that it's 1 in 8 men overall, but jumps to 1 in 6 for Black or African-American men.
So his advocacy is really important there.
Yeah, he feels like maybe this journey prepared him, like a higher power is helping him be a light of hope. His message is basically, get tested, ask questions, check your own records, investigate.
What's his outlook now? Treatment plans?
He says he wants to embrace where I am now and be grateful and try to help somebody else. He's exploring options, has a team of doctors, but he's adamant he doesn't want his prostate removed based on a friend's bad experience.
Okay. And how's he feeling generally?
Remarkably positive, considering. He said, "I feel good. I'm 64. That's young to me. Life really is a beautiful thing. It's pretty inspiring."
It really is. Next update we have about drama on the Valley.
Yes, back to the on-screen stuff. This involves Scheana Caperna and the whole controversy where she was accused of calling Michelle Saniei a racist Republican.
All right, that became a whole thing.
Yeah.
Zach Wickham brought it up. Kristen Doubt apparently spread it, caused a rift. So Janet's talking about it.
Yeah, she went on the Vile Files podcast, according to Reality T, and gave her side.
What does she say happened?
She said it started with a conversation with Michelle about, quote, a bunch of political stuff. And Michelle made one comment that rubbed me the wrong way.
Okay, so how did it become racist Republican?
Well, Janet's version sounds like a classic game of telephone. She apparently told Jasmine Good she was worried Michelle might support a specific bill that wasn't great for the gay community. And somehow, as that got passed along, it morphed into the claim that Janet had used those specific words, racist Republican.
Which she denies.
Flat out. She said, "I didn't use any of those words," and she added she regrets not clearing it up with Michelle sooner.
Okay. The article also mentioned another claim against her about Scheana Shay.
Oh, right. The idea that she sort of manipulated her way into the group through Scheana from Vanderpump Rules.
Because she was a fan?
Yeah. Janet admitted she was a Bravo fan before I met Scheana, noting the pronunciation there, but said it was more general, like Andy Cohen, WWHL Housewives. She had seen VPR, though.
How did they actually meet then?
She said she did approach Scheana as a fan for a picture, but then they ended up talking all day, bonding over things like getting divorced young and starting over. Not exactly stalking.
So how does she feel about those accusations? Stalking, evil, conniving.
She said seeing that stuff is annoying because, quote, it's not true.
Fair enough. Did she say anything else about the group?
Yeah, kind of flipped it around. Said she finds it weird when other people in the group claim they had no idea who the Vanderpump Rules stars were. She basically called them liars on that.
Ah, okay, so she's owning being aware of the Bravoverse.
Seems like it, not pretending she stumbled in completely naive.
So yeah, quite a deep dive today. We've covered a lot. So if you want to keep up with all this, make sure you subscribe to Realty TV.
Yeah, and hit that bell icon. You don't want to miss our next breakdown.
Thank you for watching this video. See you tomorrow.